At 2:47 a.m. on a rainy Memphis night in March 1975, Elvis Presley got into a yellow cab that would change his entire perspective on what it means to work hard and sacrifice for family. The driver was a 52-year-old Lebanese immigrant named Hassan Al-Mansouri, who had been driving nights for 8 years while working 2 other jobs during the day. What Hassan told Elvis during that 45-minute ride through the empty streets of Memphis became the most powerful lesson about the American dream that Elvis ever received. By the time they reached Graceland, Elvis was crying, Hassan was crying, and both men had discovered that the most meaningful conversations happen between strangers who have nothing to gain from each other except understanding. But let me take you back to what led Elvis to that cab, because the story of how these 2 men from completely different worlds found common ground in the middle of the night is something that will restore your faith in human connection. Elvis had been at a late recording session at American Sound Studio that had gone nowhere fast. The songs weren't working, the arrangements felt stale, and Elvis was struggling with the feeling that he was losing his creative edge. He dismissed his usual entourage around midnight, telling them he needed to walk and think. For 3 hours, Elvis had wandered through downtown Memphis, trying to clear his head and reconnect with something authentic inside himself. The city was different at this hour, quieter, more honest somehow. The neon signs reflected off wet streets, and the few people still awake at 3 a.m. were the real Memphis. Night workers, hospital staff, people living life without pretense. When the rain started coming down harder, Elvis finally decided to call it a night. He flagged down the first cab he saw, a slightly dented yellow Ford driven by a man with graying hair and kind eyes who looked like he'd been driving these streets for decades. "Where to?" Hassan asked in accented English, glancing in the rearview mirror at his passenger. "Graceland," Elvis said, settling into the back seat. Hassan nodded and pulled into traffic, but something made him look again in the mirror. Recognition dawned slowly on his weathered face. "You are Elvis Presley," Hassan said, not as a question but as a statement of fact. "Yes, sir. I hope that's not a problem," Hassan smiled. "No problem at all, Mr. Presley. It is an honor to drive you. I am Hassan Al-Mansouri." As they drove through the quiet streets, Hassan began to talk, and Elvis found himself drawn into a conversation that would prove more valuable than any recording session he'd ever done. "You know, Mr. Presley, I have been in America for 12 years now, and I still cannot believe sometimes that I am here, driving taxi, living free life with my family." "Where are you from originally?" Elvis asked, genuinely interested. "Lebanon, small village outside Beirut. Beautiful place, but not much opportunity for a man like me. I was carpenter there. But war came, economy got bad. My wife Fatima and we decided to come to America for our children." Hassan's voice carried a mixture of pride and weariness that spoke of someone who had worked incredibly hard for everything he'd achieved. "How many children do you have?" "4, 3 boys and 1 girl. Omar is 19, studying engineering at Memphis State. Layla is 17, wants to be doctor. Ahmed is 14, very smart with mathematics. And little Samir, he is 11, loves music like you." Elvis could hear the deep affection in Hassan's voice when he talked about his children, the same tone his own father had used when talking about him to friends and neighbors. "That's wonderful. They must make you proud." Hassan was quiet for a moment, navigating through an intersection. "They do, but Mr. Presley, it is not easy. To give children good life in America, immigrant father must work very hard." "What do you mean?" "I drive taxi at night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. During day, I work construction with my brother-in-law, laying bricks, building houses. And 3 days a week I also work at grocery store in afternoon, helping owner who is also from Lebanon." Elvis stared at the back of Hassan's head, trying to process what he'd just heard. "You work 3 jobs?" "Yes. Sometimes I sleep only 3-4 hours. But my children, they need books for school, clothes that are not embarrassing, money for college. Omar's tuition alone costs more than I made in a whole year back in Lebanon." As they drove through the empty streets, Hassan continued to share his story, and Elvis found himself captivated by this man's perspective on sacrifice and the American dream. "You know what is funny?" Hassan said, stopping at a red light. "People sometimes think cab driver is not good job, not respectable work. But I love driving at night in Memphis. I meet all kinds of people. Doctors going to hospital, workers going home from factory, young couples going on dates, old people going to see sick relatives. What do you love about it? Each person has story, and for a short time, they trust me to get them where they need to go safely. Is honor, you know? People get in my cab when they are tired, worried, happy, sad. I try to make their journey a little bit better." Elvis was struck by the dignity with which Hassan talked about his work. "That's a beautiful way to think about it. My father, he taught me that any honest work is good work if you do it with pride and if it helps your family. In Lebanon, I build cabinets, tables, beautiful things with my hands. Here, I drive car, carry bags of cement, stock shelves. Different work, but same purpose. Take care of family." Hassan pulled onto Elvis Presley Boulevard, heading toward Graceland, but he drove slowly, as if he sensed that this conversation was too important to rush. "Mr. Presley, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When you first start singing, when you become famous, did your parents understand what was happening?" Elvis smiled at the memory. "My mama did. She always believed in me, even when other people thought country music mixed with rhythm and blues was strange. She used to say that music was God's gift and I had responsibility to use it well. She sounds like a wise woman. She was. She died in 1958, and I still miss her every day." Hassan nodded solemnly. Mothers, they see things in their children that rest of world cannot see. My wife Fatima, she works too, cleaning houses for rich families. But every night when I come home from driving, she asks me about people I met, what conversations I had. She says I'm a good listener, that people tell me things because I care about their stories. "I can see that," Elvis said. "You've got me talking about things I don't usually discuss with strangers. Maybe because at 3 a.m. we're all just human beings trying to figure out life. Your fame, my immigrant story, these are just circumstances. Underneath, we both know what it feels like to work hard, to worry about family, to hope that what we do matters." As they approached the gates of Graceland, Hassan slowed down even more, as if reluctant for the conversation to end. "Mr. Presley, can I tell you something that maybe sounds strange?" "Please." "Sometimes when I am driving at night, when city is quiet like tonight, I listen to your music on radio. And I think about how your voice reaches people all over the world, rich people, poor people, Americans, immigrants like me. Your music, it does not care about where a person comes from or how much money they have." Hassan paused at the entrance to Graceland, but made no move to stop the meter or end the ride. "My son Samir, the 11-year-old, he loves your music so much. He saves money from small jobs, carrying groceries, helping neighbors, and he buys your records. He sings your songs, trying to sound American, trying to fit in with other kids at school." Elvis felt something tighten in his chest. "That's beautiful." "You know what he told me last week?" He said, "Baba, Elvis Presley makes me feel like I belong here." And I think, this is what America is supposed to be. Place where Lebanese boy can love music by poor boy from Mississippi, where everyone's dreams can come true if they work hard enough. Hassan finally pulled through the gates and drove up the long driveway to the mansion. As they sat in the circular driveway, both men seemed reluctant for the conversation to end. "Hassan, can I ask you something now?" Elvis said. "Of course." "Do you ever regret coming to America, leaving everything you knew behind?" Hassan turned around in his seat to look directly at Elvis. "Mr. Presley, every day I'm tired. Every day I worry about money, about my children, about whether I am good enough father. But regret? Never." "Why not?" "Because in Lebanon, my children would have no choice. Here, Omar will be engineer, Layla will be doctor, Ahmed will be whatever he wants to be. And Samir," Hassan smiled, "Samir will grow up in country where he can love any music he wants, where he can dream any dream." If Hassan's dedication to his family is inspiring you the way it's inspiring me, please hit that subscribe button. This conversation between Elvis and Hassan shows us what the American dream really looks like, and there are more incredible stories of courage and sacrifice coming. Hassan looked at the mansion through his windshield. You know, Mr. Presley, you and we are both living American dream, just different versions. How so? You took gift God gave you, your voice, and you worked hard to share it with world. Now you can take care of people you love, help other people through your music. Me, I take strength God gave me, in my hands, in my willingness to work, and I use it to give my children opportunities I never had. Elvis stared at Hassan, struck by this simple yet profound observation. I never thought about it like that. Mr. Presley, Hassan said quietly, can I tell you what I think when I hear your music? Please. I think about hope. I think about boy from poor family who became something beautiful, something that brings joy to millions of people. And I think if Elvis Presley can do this, maybe my children can do anything too. Elvis felt tears starting to form in his eyes. Here was a man working 3 jobs, sleeping 4 hours a night, sacrificing everything for his family's future, and he was inspired by Elvis's story. Hassan, you've got it backwards, Elvis said, his voice breaking slightly. You're the inspiration here. You're the one living the real American dream, working 3 jobs, sacrificing sleep, putting your children's futures ahead of your own comfort. That's heroism. Hassan shook his head. Is just what father does. No, it's not just what fathers do. It's what extraordinary fathers do. It's what fathers who truly love their children do. Elvis pulled out his wallet and handed Hassan a $100 bill for what should have been a $15 fare. Mr. Presley, this is too much, Hassan protested. It's not enough, Elvis said. Hassan, would you do me a favor? Would you bring your family to one of my concerts, all of you? I want to meet Omar and Layla and Ahmed and especially Samir. Hassan stared at him in amazement. You would do this? I would be honored to do this. You've taught me more about dignity and hard work and family devotion in 45 minutes than I've learned in years. Your children should know that their father is a hero. Both men were crying now. Elvis from recognition of Hassan's sacrifice. Hassan from the overwhelming validation of his life's work by someone he'd admired from afar. Hassan and his family became regular guests at Elvis concerts, always seated in the front row. Elvis would introduce them as the hardest working family in Memphis and often dedicate songs to Hassan. Omar graduated with an engineering degree, Layla became a doctor treating immigrant families, Ahmed became a mathematics professor, and Samir became a musician playing Lebanese American fusion music. Mr. Elvis showed us that success isn't about forgetting where you come from, Samir said years later. It's about using your gifts to lift up other people. Elvis never forgot Hassan's lesson about dignity and work and sacrifice. Whenever he felt overwhelmed by fame's pressures, he remembered Hassan driving through the night after laying bricks all day, doing it all with pride for his children's future. The conversation influenced how Elvis thought about his work and fans. He began seeing concerts as opportunities to provide hope to working families and immigrants, anyone who needed to believe their dreams were possible in America. Hassan retired in 1990 after all 4 children graduated college and started successful careers. At his retirement party, he said, I came to America with nothing but a strong back. I am leaving with 4 children living the American dream. When Hassan passed away in 2003, his funeral was attended by hundreds whose lives he'd touched, including late-night passengers who remembered the kind cab driver who made their journeys better. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger that completely changed your perspective? Tell us about them in the comments. Let's celebrate the people who work tirelessly for their families' futures. If this story inspired you to think differently about hard work and the American dream, make sure you're subscribed for more incredible true stories. Hit that notification bell for stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things out of love. The most powerful thing Hassan said to Elvis wasn't about fame or success. As Elvis got out of the cab, Hassan said, "Thank you for reminding my son that in America, any dream is possible if you work hard enough." Elvis realized that night that sometimes the most important thing you can do is be an example of hope for someone else's child. The American dream isn't about becoming famous. It's about having freedom to work toward the life you want, no matter where you started. Hassan Al-Mansouri lived that dream every day, one fare at a time, one sacrifice at a time. And in doing so, he taught Elvis Presley what real success looks like.